Hi everybody, my name is Dennis and welcome back to another album review. Today we are reviewing the latest record from Rum Club entitled The Hollow of Humdrum. Now, back in 2019, Rum Club put out a great indie album. I mean, it was punchy, it was fun, it was energetic. They clearly have a unique style going for them. And even though it wasn't necessarily like the best indie project I'd ever heard, it wasn't exactly breaking any boundaries. It was just a lot of fun with a consistent track list. And even revisiting it, some of the tracks that I wasn't as big of a fan of when I first listened to it have grown on me since. So it's a great indie album that I still think showed how good this small band could really be. So this album came out last year, and I felt that just with how relatively little exposure these guys get, it was almost wrong for me to not cover this album. So even though I don't really typically like going back and playing catch up with my reviews, I really wanted to do this band a service because I think they could really use it because they definitely deserve to get more attention than they do. So overall, I don't think this album is as good as Matador, but it is still solid and has a lot of great tracks on here. But to get to those great tracks, you kind of gotta sift through the weaker first half, in my opinion. The Elevation is a seemingly just fun opening track, but the more I listen to it, the more I just cannot get out of my head how it sounds like Move by Saint Motel. And just every time I hear it, I'm like, this is literally just Move by Saint Hotel. And I don't know, like, why am I gonna listen to this when, again, Saint Motel did this same exact thing years ago and kind of did it better? So, I don't know. I think the songwriting on it is decent enough. It's kind of your typical story of, where you've kind of developed this emotional dependency on a person, and then as they leave you, you start to beg to have them back. Nothing too, again, groundbreaking songwriting wise, but it's serviceable enough. It works for the song. I just wish it didn't sound quite so derivative. The next two tracks, Kids Addicted and Vivo, both kind of cover the same ideas of technological addiction. Where we're so involved in our devices and we get so caught up in these things that we start to miss out on the other parts of life. And I appreciate the sentiment, but nothing here is really said in a way that is interesting or, really mentally stimulating at all. That, I just feel like other people have brought out this topic significantly better before, and I don't feel like I come away from these tracks having learned anything or gained any sort of new perspective on these topics. Kids Addicted, especially, I thought was a weak song. I think the vocal performances are quite lacking at points. The verses can be bland. And I just wish that the chorus felt more passionate. I just don't feel much of anything when I'm listening to it. Vivo was better overall, even if I do think that the kind of country-esque vocals on a couple of the verses are a bit awkward. But the chorus is nice enough. And it's fine. It's an okay enough track, but I just wish that there was more interesting things going on here. And plus the trumpets, I forgot to mention the trumpets. That is kind of like the signature thing Rum Club does. It was all over their last record. I think it was done really well on their last record, the way they utilized them. But here, especially again in that first half, it just feels like cut and paste of the kind of the way the trumpets sound, the way they integrate with the instrumentals, like the way it's used in The Elevation, the way it's used in Vivo, and then the next song, Ballerino, they just sound so non-distinct from one another. I like what they're going for, and I really appreciate it. And I think they really struck their mark with the trumpet sounds later on in the record and throughout their Matador album. But just these first few tracks, it feels very samey. I wish there was some more diversity put into the instrumentals there. And favorite record, it doesn't feature this really. It's more of a ballad. It's a fine ballad. Nothing all that special, I don't think, to be honest. The lyrics don't really do much for me overall. There's not really a strong enough narrative here for me to really get engaged in the emotional sonic displays. It's a fine ballad. If you enjoy ballads, you'll probably like this song, but to me, it just didn't do anything all that amazing. And I know it sounds like I'm being really harsh on this record, but it gets amazing after this point. And I'm not exaggerating when it gets amazing. Eleanor is a phenomenal track. The trumpets are used here so gorgeously. The vocal performance is amazing. The songwriting is on point. It's a very sweet and endearing track. It easily has some of the most catchy, punchy instrumentals across this entire thing. And this is like the one I just keep coming back to, really. This is one of those tracks that I just keep finding myself coming back to, even on its own, outside of the context of the record, because it is just that good. It is just that good of a song. And I wish more of the record kind of had this sound to it. The next two tracks, Dorado and Girl's a Gun, have a sound that is very similar to the last record, Matador, and it works really well. Dorado has this slick bass line, this really catchy chorus, these really fun instrumentals going through it, and it's just a great track. Again, it's just a great track, and the vocals in the chorus are so passionate and so punchy. I love that this guy, I love his vocals. He is a great vocalist. And that's why I was kind of disappointed with some of the earlier songs like Kids Addicted that just lacked that passion for me. Girl is a Gun, another really, really fun track. It's a really well written track. It kind of has that Bonnie and Clyde vibe to it. And it almost feels a bit Western at points. And it just ends up being such a fun track. The trumpet breakdowns are slick, they're catchy, they're fast hitting, they're really, really strong, and I really, really love them. And Brando after this is a gorgeous song. It is one of the only songs in here that really has progression to it, and they do it so well. The way that this song progresses, it starts off with this, really soft, really subtle, really sexy sound to it all, and it slowly develops. Eventually, we get these drum lines in there that work really well with the track, and we get this trumpet instrumental passage that is so unique. It's very distinct from all of the other, instrumentals involving trumpets that go on through the rest of the record. And then in the final chorus, they integrate these trumpets into the entire instrumental, where it doesn't overpower. It doesn't feel overshadowed by anything else, but it weaves in so perfectly. And it's just such an amazing track here. And the closing track, Holy Horses, has some of my favorite and least favorite moments on the record. I think after the slow burn and beautiful progression that Brando had, Holy Horses kind of has a sudden jump in tone. Maybe if it was earlier on in the record, I think it would work better. But it's a bit like sickeningly happy. And I know that sounds really, mean, but it's so happy to the point where it just kind of gets annoying, especially the verses with these really bad hand clapping instrumentals that I forgot to mention were also present on Vivo. Just the hand clapping, it just doesn't do anything for me here. However, the chorus on Holy Horses is phenomenal. It is amazing. It is, again, that aggressive, hard hitting, in your face, punchy instrumentation that I think this band just does so well. Again, the vocal performance on this chorus is top notch. I just wish the verses were better, because it's just like I feel like I have to suffer through the verses to get to the chorus, because the chorus is really what makes this song great. I love the atmosphere that it builds up. I love the feeling that it gives me, and it's just such a fun song overall. So, much like their last record, there's not a lot of real depth here. There's not really a whole lot I think there is to talk about, but with Red Rum Club, you really just want some really good indie rock, indie pop fun. And I think they really succeeded at that on their last record, and they were kind of so-so with it on this one. There were moments of brilliance, and a lot of things I did really enjoy, but there were definitely some weak moments as well. So overall, I'd still say it's a solid record. There's not really all that much that's bad on here, just some stuff that I think could have been better. So overall, I'm feeling a decent 6. If you listen to this record, be sure to tell me what you thought of it. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Tell me how wrong my opinion is, as always, and I'll see you in the next review.